Hello and welcome to everyone listening to the Written in Melanin podcast, the place where you come to get your weekly dose of melanated creativity. I'm your host, CM Lockhart, an author of fantasy books featuring Black girls who aren't all that nice, and the owner of the Melanin Library, an online database of books written by Black authors. And in this space, I offer you full transparency on my journey as a Black and indie author. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to episode number 17. As I have been sharing with you guys, I very much feel like I am in a new season of growth, both as an author and as a person. And one of the things I've been sitting with this past week is releasing myself of the expectations I put on myself, especially as an author. And doing that has been giving me so much more peace of mind and has made me so much more productive. And by that, I mean that I had to learn to stop putting so much pressure on myself to do an ungodly amount of work. Because as I have talked to you guys about in previous podcast episodes, I do a lot, and I know that I do a lot. And in an effort to keep everything going and growing and doing well, I tend to overwork myself. I tend to put way too much on my plate, and I put these really unrealistic expectations on myself to be like, okay, I need to create content for this social media platform. I need to create content for this. And, if someone emails me and they're like, hey, can you read my book? I'm like, oh my God, yes, of course. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I have to read a book and I have to provide feedback for people. And, I've still got to record the podcast. I've still got to do the Melanin chat. I've still got to maintain the Melanin library. I still have to, maintain my Discord servers. I still have to maintain the friendships that I have with the other authors that I interact with. And that's not even including me actually writing and promoting my own stuff. That's just all the extra things that I take on a regular basis. And I had to just release myself from that amount of work and just be like, it's okay if everything is not perfect. It is okay if everything is not going the way that I need it to go or I planned for it to go. And it is okay if I have to let some things go. I talked about this in the after chat. So today is May 4th. So I talked about this yesterday on May 3rd. If you guys don't know what the after chat is, basically after chat is the exclusive Discord server for the people who support my platforms, whether that be the Melanin Library or that be my Ko-Fi page, both of which have links in the description box if you want to check either of them out. But the after chat is the exclusive conversation that we have after the Melanin chat, which is public on YouTube, that we have every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Right? And in the after chat, we usually just get really candid and we talk about a lot of fun stuff and we just connect, It's not scripted at all, but it's not necessarily like we have a topic or anything. Sometimes the conversation carries over from the Melanin chat. Sometimes we're just talking about life. Sometimes we're just talking about the things that are relevant to us. And it's just a really fun way to connect with other people who are writers and readers and come from all different types of walks of life, but have a common love for books by Black authors. It's a really great community and I'm really glad that I have it. And in the after chat, we were talking about, the things that we're doing. And I was telling them that I have this really, really random dream. And I'm not going to go into all the details here, but essentially what I got from the dream, and it was really wild. It involved my dead great uncle and his also dead wife and my childhood friend that I grew up with, as well as several family members that I don't really interact with a whole lot, and lots of jewelry. But that being said, in this dream, what I got from it when I woke up was that I have to let go of some things if I want to get the things that I really want out of life. Because the things that I wanted and needed before, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I first started doing all of this, is not necessarily the things that I want and need right now. And that means that I have to let go of some of the things that I collected along the way if I want to make room for the things that I want in the future going forward. And that dream hit me really hard, but it was also coupled with a conversation that I had with Kimberly Lemming. If you guys don't know her, she was on the podcast with me, the Writing Fantasy with Kimberly Lemming. We had a great time, but she's also one of my author friends in real life. And we were just having a conversation and, she was talking about all that she does and her accomplishments. And I was talking about what I've been doing and the good things that have been happening with my book pre-release. And it was just a really, really good conversation. But afterwards, when I was kind of thinking about it later on, it just kind of hit me how much work I actually do, because in the conversation, she was like, you do a lot. And, whenever people say that to me, I tend to brush it off like, yeah, I know I do a lot, but it's not a really big deal. But I realize it is a big deal because I'm tired and I'm exhausted, and working myself to the absolute brink of exhaustion is not something that I want to continue to do. It's not healthy. It's not something that I think anybody should encourage. And I don't think it's something that I necessarily want to hold on to. And it's one of those things that I am releasing. Like, I needed that work ethic when I started all of this, because it was literally from the ground up. It was from scratch. I had nothing. I had to work this hard to get to the point where I'm like, okay, now I don't have to. And I'm not even saying that in a sense of, oh, look, I made it. I don't have to work this hard no more. It's more like in a sense of, no, I worked really hard, but this is not sustainable. And so I have learned a lot from this process, and it's okay. It's okay to be like, you know what, we're not going to do this. It's okay to be like, you know what, that's just going to have to wait. And it's okay to say no. And I have talked about this in previous podcasts, but as I always say on these podcasts, I am in the middle of this journey. This is not past tense for me. I am always very much currently in the middle of whatever I'm talking to you guys about. And one of the things that I talked about in the past is saying no and being like, I don't have time for this, and protecting your creative energy to make sure that you have time for the things that you actually want to do. And for me, I'm always guilty of overcommitting myself. So I'm still working on like drawing back and coming back and being like, okay, I actually do not have time for this, and to keep myself sane, So just like I said, being like, I don't have to do this ungodly amount of work, and understanding that, working myself to the point of exhaustion does not make me a better person. There is no reward at the end of life for being like, okay, you worked really hard, you had no fun, and you were kind of miserable the whole time because all you wanted to do was take a nap and maybe have someone bring you a cup of coffee. There's no reward for that. So I don't even know what game I'm playing, because you don't win. No one gets out of life alive. So I am just kind of in the mindset that I want to enjoy it. At the very least, I want to be able to give myself grace for resting. I want to be like, okay, it's okay. Because you know what, you guys, resting is so important, and it makes you so productive. Like, oh my gosh, I guess I don't know when I started internalizing this idea that you have to go 100% all the time. But oh my God, when you take a nap and you can wake up and your mind is clear, and it's just like a thing that I know would have taken me hours had I powered through. It takes me like 20 minutes, 30 minutes with a fresh mind, just because I was like, you know what? Instead of forcing myself to do this for the next 2 hours, I'm going to take 45 minutes to an hour. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to rest. I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to drink some coffee. I'm going to watch an anime. I'm going to watch a YouTube video, whatever it is that I need to do to relax. And then I'm going to get to the task. And it is mind-blowing how productive I actually become. And it's just wild, because it really starts with me being like, it's okay. It's okay to sit down. It's okay to not do everything right now. And I'm learning it and I'm repeating it. So I'm going to move on. It's just so mind-blowing to me, you guys, how the mind works and how we as people work, and how we can know things that will be better for us, and still we don't do it because we're like, but the thing has to get done. It's so weird. It's so weird. And I'm trying to unlearn it, and it's a task. So wish me luck. If you are also unlearning it, I wish you luck. And we are going to be on this journey together. That being said, as an author, I have had to learn that I need to stop comparing myself to what other authors are doing. So going back to that conversation I mentioned with Kimberly Lemming, she is wildly successful with her books, and I absolutely love that so much for her. Like, she is killing it, you guys. If you have not picked up her books, That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon, Mistletoe, or her latest book coming out, which is May 16th, I want to say. And that is That Time I Got Drunk and Needed a Love Potion at a Werewolf. Y'all, she is amazingly talented, and her books are hilarious. Y'all should for sure pick them up. You can pre-order her second book on Amazon right now. But that being said, I had to release myself from comparing what she's doing to what I'm doing because we are different people. And like I said, she's killing it. So like naturally, when you have author friends or anybody in any field that you want to be in or that you are in, that you want to be successful in, and you see somebody being successful, you just like, girl, what you doing? Slide them tips my way, And it's just kind of like, I definitely want to be successful, but I had to release myself from the expectation that my journey is going to look like hers. I talked about this in a previous podcast, so I'm not going to repeat myself and everything that I said about that, but just learning to let my author journey be my own without putting the expectations of others on myself. And by that, I mean, I am not ashamed if I cannot drop multiple books a year. There is nothing wrong with that. Okay. Some authors can do it. I am not one of them. And just releasing myself from that expectation and this negative self-talk that I didn't even realize was sneaking into my mind and being like, oh, you're only dropping one book a year. You're not doing it. You need to work harder. You need to go harder. You need to write more. You need to do more. You need to publish more. You need to write more stories. You need to write short stories. You need to give away some freebies. You need to grow this newsletter list. You need to do this. And it just kind of like goes so deep into my brain, and it's so quiet, but it's consistent. It's kind of like when you're running a ceiling fan and you hear the ticking to the point that you kind of like tune it out, and then something happens, like it stops for a brief moment, like somebody turns the fan off and then you turn it back on and you're just like, oh my God, has that ticking always been there? It's kind of like that. Like I don't even be knowing I be thinking like this, y'all. And it's just in the back of my head. And when I had that conversation with her, I was just like, wow, Chelsea, you gotta do better, homie. You gotta do better. So I am learning to let go of the expectation of dropping multiple books a year. I am learning not to be hard on myself for my process being slower and for not selling as many books as I think I should be selling. And when I say I think I should be selling, I literally mean the imaginary version of me who wants to be a millionaire and just wants to go take baths in cash. Okay. I don't want to actually do that because cash is gross, but you get what I'm saying. You paint the picture here, like obviously I want to make money off of my creativity, but there's also a part of me that's like realistic. And I'm like, for my book to have not come out yet, and for my writing style of fantasy to not even be out in the world and easily accessible yet, I'm doing pretty well. Like I'm exceeding my own expectations right now. So like, chill out, homie. This is self-talk to me, right? Chill out, girl. Like you're fine. You're good. People are going to love your book. And even if they don't, you put your heart and soul into it. It's fine. It's good. Chill out. It's okay. And just not being hard on myself for it. And like I said, releasing myself from that expectation. I've said that like a million times this podcast, but really, you guys, that is the lesson for the week, the month, the year, the season, whatever. Stop putting expectations on yourself for things that are unrealistic. And for me, my writing process is slow, not only because there are other things that I do where writing is not the only thing that I do. Like I say that I'm a full-time author because I do so many other things. It's just kind of like, that's the easiest thing to get out when people ask what I do. But it's just like, I don't spend 8 hours of my day writing. I don't have 8 hours to dedicate to it. I could if I got rid of like literally everything else that I do, but that's not what I'm trying to do. But that's a whole other conversation. Let me stay on task. The point that I'm trying to make is that my process is slow, and I have to accept that about myself. It takes me a long time to think about a book, get it to where I want it to be, write it, edit it, send it out, get feedback, go back through it, curate the book to what I want it to be so it's an experience that I know other people will enjoy when they get it. And even if they don't enjoy it, I can feel proud enough of what I have created to be like, okay, you didn't like it, but that's not on me. That's not because I didn't pour my absolute best into it. It's not because I didn't pour all of my skill into it, all of my heart, all of my soul, all of my dedication, everything that I have into it. If you don't like it, that's fine. It's kind of like some people will never like tomatoes. It doesn't matter how you prepare them. It doesn't matter if they're organic or store-bought. It doesn't matter if you put them on a sandwich. It does not matter if you put them in a pasta. They don't like it. And no matter what you do, they're not going to like it. And I have to realize that my book is the same way. As long as I put everything into it and I am proud of it, if people don't like it, I'm okay with that. I can live with that because I know it's not because I didn't do my absolute best. And so I am having to learn that it is okay I don't need to be hard on myself for it being a process. And I don't need to be hard on myself for not reaching these imaginary numbers of sales when my book hasn't even released yet. And even after it releases, there's still a modicum of reality that I need to have. Like I can promote it, I can share it, but at the same time, it still requires growth and time, and even the big name authors did not get big until their book was out and they had time and somebody loved it and shared it with somebody else that they loved. There are plenty of authors who share their stories online where it's just like, yeah, I've been writing for like 10 years, you guys, but y'all picked up this one book and then you went back through my whole catalog and realized, been that girl, been there, done that, been doing this for a long time, So it's just kind of like, I'm okay. And I am here for the journey. And that's one of the things that I had to keep telling myself. I am here for the journey, not the destination. Do I want to be paid off of this? Absolutely. I'm going to keep saying that because I'm going to manifest it and be like, yes, Lord, pay me for my creativity. I receive it. But also, more realistically, it's just like I want to enjoy this process because life is a journey and I don't want to be so busy rushing myself to the finish line that I forget to enjoy all the little things and all the little moments that build up to it, And with that in mind, I just have to keep in mind that like being an author is a journey and there are levels to it and there are steps to it. And I can honestly look back and say that I was not where I was 3 years ago when I decided that I was going to take it seriously. And I wasn't where I was last year before I had written We Are the Origin. And I wasn't where I was, 6 months ago before I had a TikTok. And I wasn't where I was, at the beginning of the year, 5 months ago when I decided to relaunch the podcast. I can see the steps in my journey and I'm really excited about it. And I am learning to accept that as, who I am and what I'm going through, what I'm experiencing, and to enjoy it, And with that in mind, like the last thing that I'm kind of like, I need to let go of is this idea that publishing and marketing can only be done one way, and accepting that my way of doing things isn't wrong just because someone else is doing it quote unquote better. And I put better in quotes because I am a firm believer that one way isn't better than the other. I think one way works better for some people. So if you're naturally funny, I think there are platforms that are going to cater to that in your personality. If you are super lyrical with your writing, I think there are other platforms that, cater to that. And if you have really, really just like pretty visuals that you can put together, there are platforms that cater to that. And if you're really good at newsletters, there's something for that too. Everybody has their own ways, tips, tricks, and advice of marketing their book and publishing their book. And you should do this, you shouldn't do that. Be wary of this, be wary of that. Keep this in mind. And that's cool. That's great because all of us have lived experiences that guide us on giving this advice. But at the same time, I had to accept that my way isn't wrong and release myself from the expectation that what I do is going to look like what other people are doing. Because like I said, the whole idea is I'm not trying to keep up with the next New York Times bestseller. I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses. I am just trying to authentically live my life to the best possible degree so that when I get to the end of it, I'm like, yeah, I did everything that I wanted to do. I'm not sitting here with a list of regrets. That is the thing that I don't want. I don't want to get to the end of whatever journey I am on and think, man, I should have did this, or I should have trusted my gut, or I should have did that, or I should have just waited, or I should have thought this through, or I should have. I don't want to be filled with I should haves at the end of my journey. And that I'm so adamant about that. I'm just like, okay, look, girl, we don't have to sit down and think this out because this energy that we're collecting right now, we're in a new season. We're not going to bring that with us. We're not going to bring this negativity with us. So yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. But all that being said, I'm going to say it again. Last time, promise. Release yourself from whatever expectations that you are holding yourself to, whether that be as a person and overworking yourself or as an author and comparing yourself to others. That's what I'm working on. And if you fall into that category as well, I encourage you to work on that with me because it's not fun. It's not fun. But that being said, let's move on to the Chelsea's Corner update of this podcast episode, because I have some fun things to tell you guys and I'm really excited about it. So first things first, the opening lines for book 2 of We Are the Origin have been written, and I am so excited about it because I know where I left people off in book 1, and my beta readers have all been like, okay, but where's book 2 though? And I'm like, I'm working on it. And y'all, the feedback that I have been getting from my beta readers has been amazing. Like, when I tell you that God really sent me the right people to read my book, because they have been boosting my confidence and being like, okay, maybe I know what I'm doing just a little bit, because some of the comments have really been like completely wild to me. And if you guys follow me on Twitter, I have been sharing some of the things that they have said, but they're going to all be in the book once it releases. But if you want to see them, you can go to my website, cmlockhart.com, and I've been adding them there. And it's just kind of like one person in their comments. This wasn't a quote that I could use to promote the book, but I can tell you guys because, I mean, you're listening to it. It's my podcast. I can say whatever I want. But it was just like, she was like, you have the potential to rival Children of Blood and Bone. And for me, that was just like kind of a major thing, because I was like, oh my God, people love Children of Blood and Bone. People stan Tomi Adeyemi. And I'm just like, wow, that's like a major compliment. Not even gonna lie though, there was one person who, as they were reading the book, they compared my writing to One Piece and Jujutsu Kaisen. And when I tell you, I screamed. Y'all have to know how much I love anime, okay? I run another podcast with my husband called I'd Rather Anime. We have a blog, had a blog. It's not really active because I'm doing other things at this point and I just don't have time. But when I tell you we are anime stans in this house, and we stan Gojo Satoru in this house, and they compared my writing to Gojo's expansion domain, and I was just like, oh my God, I can't. I freaked out. I was just like, you know what? Yeah, comparing my book to Children of Blood and Bone, fantastic. Comparing my book to anime, oh my God, I will love you forever. That is my goal. That is my goal in life. That is what I want. That is what I aspire to. And it's just been, it's been so fun. And someone literally called my book top tier, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do with this. Y'all are giving me so much power and confidence, and I love you for it. Thank you. That being said, I get my feedback from my editor next week if all things go according to plan. So I'm just like living off of this high because I know I'm going to get these edits back and they're going to be like, okay, so you need to fix this, that, and that. And I know that. So I'm just like living in this moment right now. But I am really excited for what's coming up for book 2. So just so you guys know, book 1 has a content warning for graphic violence because they're assassins and there is murder, several scenes of murder on the page. So there is violence. That being said, book 2, I am like giddy because I'm just like, there's so many moments that are going to be violent that I'm just so excited to write. Y'all, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I get excited to write fantasy violence, but I do. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. So I'm really excited about that. I'm still working on it. I am also probably going to be working on a short story coming up actually as well, because I don't know how y'all's writing process works, but for me, a lot of times I get the most vivid ideas right before I'm about to go to sleep, and I usually end up texting them to myself. And I'm not sure if y'all know y'all can do this. My mom didn't know, and so was it my mom? It might not have been my mom. Some older adult in my life who I care about was just like, they were asking me what I was doing, and I was like, I'm texting myself, and they were like, you're what? So you guys know you can just put your phone number in like the to bar and like send text messages to yourself, and it's basically like a little reminder, right? Searchable like the rest of your text messages. I don't know. If you didn't know, you can absolutely do that. I know some people have like a notes app. I like text messages because I can close out of it before the text message comes through, because it really does send it to yourself. And then you have like a little notification icon at the top when you wake up, because I send mine to myself late at night. And then you're like, oh, wait, I wrote this last night. And then you can go back to it and type it up or do whatever it is that you need to do with it. And it's very searchable. So that's my little tip for the day. Do what you want with it. But I was sending little like notes and tidbits. And I was sending so many text messages to myself last night, and I was just like, oh my God. And then I woke up this morning, I was like, oh my God, this is good. What? So I am very tentatively thinking about doing a short story for We Are the Origin, following two of the main characters and putting it in Kindle Unlimited. It's going to be really short. It's going to be maybe 50 pages, maybe, being generous. It's going to be short, just something to like kind of whet the appetite of people who are on Kindle Unlimited, because I realized that I don't really deal with Amazon like that. Like, my book is on Amazon, but I generally encourage people to buy my book from my website, or to like buy it from a bookstore or request it from a library, like literally anything but Amazon. And it's not because I don't like Amazon. It's just one of those things where when I first started out, I had like a bad experience because I didn't know what I was doing, and that just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. But Kindle Unlimited is a legitimate audience. So I'm just kind of like, okay, I think I may want to try it again, because there are people who will take a chance on something if it's in Kindle Unlimited and reach a wider audience, right? So I'm thinking of doing that for this short story. Either that, or I will make it available on my Ko-Fi. So one of those. It's going to be available, and it's probably going to be available in the next couple of months. So keep an eye out for that. I will, of course, let you guys know, keep you updated about what's going on with that. But let me get back to the point, because I feel like I'm starting to ramble about my book, because I would talk about it forever if y'all let me. I mean, this is my podcast, so I guess there's someone to tell me to stop, but whatever. To the point. I mentioned my Ko-Fi page, so I have officially set up tiers on that. So if you like access to any short stories that I put up, exclusive scenes, exclusive content not included in the book, then you'll have access to that as it becomes available. So if you're listening to this podcast and you like to see a video podcast of me, I look like an absolute bum, because I was like, oh, I could do a video podcast, but I am not getting dressed for this. I am not getting dressed for this. It's just not who I am. And it's one of those things that is very weird. I don't know if it's because of how my brain is wired or what, but when extra steps get added to a task and I'm like, I can't do it as is, I don't do the task. And I want to record the podcast episode. So there is a video podcast that is on my Ko-Fi, and there are multiple tiers, 3, 5, 7, 10, and 20. You can pick whichever one you like, or you can donate what you want. But at any of those tiers, you get access to the visual podcast, if that's something that you're into, and whatever other exclusive content comes later on down the road. And if you sign up for the $10 or the $20, you also get a copy of my books, as long as you sign up prior to their release. So if you want We Are the Origin, just sign up prior to June 21st, and I will send you a copy. At the $10 tier, I will send you the ebook. At the $20 tier, I will send you a signed copy with extra goodies. So check it out. There's a link in the description box below. It's just Ko-Fi, which is ko-fi.com/CM Lockhart, if you want to check it out. That also being said, I did create a Discord server for the podcast. It is completely free and open to anyone who wants to join. But just be warned, you guys, I will remove you if you're one of those people who like joins and spams and is just like a terrible human being. I don't think anybody who listens to my podcast falls into that genre, but it is an open Discord link, so I wanted to make that aware. So that being said, I just actually enjoy sharing my journey, and I thought this would be a fun way to connect with anyone who is listening, because as much as I love podcasts, it is also the reality that there is not a place to really leave comments and reviews and things of that nature. So I wanted to create a space where we could connect. So if that's something that you want to do, like I said, the Discord server is free. If y'all heard my stomach rumbling, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to be able to edit that out. But yeah, link in the description box of wherever you're listening to this at. But that being said, you guys, that is it for this episode of the Written in Melanin podcast. Thank you for listening as I share my journey as an indie author. And if you'd be so kind, please share this episode on Twitter and tag me at CLockhartWrite, or go to Good Pods and leave a comment there, rate, review, what have you, whatever makes you happy, whatever makes your soul happy. I would appreciate it. If you'd like to support this podcast and my journey as an indie author, then please buy me a coffee at ko-fi.com/CM Lockhart, or grab a copy of my book, We Are the Origin, from my website, cmlockhart.com. There are links in the description box for everything, and thank you so much for listening. Until next time, I hope all your books are full of melanin.